Hey trainers, welcome to the recap for my Mirror Cup Twilight tournament, and this tournament was done through the Go Stadium Discord server. So it was a remote online tournament, and as you can see we had 18 people sign up for this tournament, and one of them was an Ace trainer, which is awesome because it's a great challenge for us to be able to battle against such a highly ranked trainer, and we were able to get 5 rounds in, which was awesome, and I was able to take home the win with this one, going 5-0. I definitely didn't expect to do so well in this tournament, since in practicing for it, it took me a long time to decide on 6 Pokemon for my team, and there are just so many matchups to consider, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to get all of them down, but in the end, I think the MVPs for my team were definitely Froslass and Dustox. Froslass is a great glass cannon, able to threaten just about everything in this meta, with Powder Snow and Avalanche and Shadow Ball, and thanks to its resistance to poison and bug, it's also able to actually not be so glassy in positive matchups. And then Dustox, despite its low max CP, is quite bulky at the Great League level, so it was a pick that not very many people used, but it definitely worked great for me. So taking a look at my team, I decided to use Qwilfish, Tyranitar, Dustox, Toxicroak, Azumarill, and Froslass. So for the first 3 picks, Qwilfish, T-Tar, and Dustox, I actually got this idea from a post that I saw on the Silph Arena subreddit by Toshi 9227, and I'll link that post in the description below. But basically he used Qwilfish, T-Tar, and Venomoth in almost all of his battles. Those 3 Pokemon, almost all of his battles, because they cover each other's weaknesses pretty well. And he was also noticing that a lot of people were leading with Venomoth or Golbat, since they have generally good or at least neutral matchups against most of the meta. So he'd lead with a T-Tar most of the time, and if he happened to guess wrong, and his opponent led with Toxicroak, then he could just safely switch to Qwilfish, because there isn't very much that hard counters Qwilfish besides Razor Leafers, which are not that common, and also Confusion users like Dustox and Venomoth, but even then, the Confusion users would take some pretty heavy damage from Water Gun and Aqua Tail, so it was a generally safe switch-in. And these 3 Pokemon I used in my original Twilight Cups back in February, so I did like how they performed, so I wanted to use them again anyway. And for my last 3 picks, these were hard to decide on, since this meta is just so diverse and so many Pokemon to choose from. Originally, I didn't want to use Toxicroak or Azumarill, since I wanted to stray away from the typical standard meta picks. But I did want to use Froslass, since I also used that one back in February, and I really liked how it performed. I think it was a really underrated pick at the time, but it performs really well because even though it's a bit glassy, it's a good lead because Powder Snow just generates energy so quickly. So it applies that shield pressure, and it can also work well as a closer once shields are down, since Avalanche and Shadow Ball are both hard-hitting charge moves, and they hit pretty much, I think, everything in this meta for at least neutral damage. So really nothing wants to take a Shadow Ball or an Avalanche. They can land a finishing blow on most Pokemon. And then, so in my practice matches, the one issue, or the few issues that I had, were Bite Drapion, Umbreon, and Haunter. And so I decided that since those were issues for me, I did want to use Toxicroak, since that would beat Drapion and Umbreon. And then I also, after that, I noticed I have 4 picks that are all pretty glassy, Dustox being the bulkiest one, so I decided to go with Azumarill as another Pokemon that could cover Froslass's weaknesses, and have a better matchup against Haunter than Toxicroak would, and also to give my team more bulk, just to help anchor my team. And looking back at the usage rates of each of my Pokemon, I used Dustox the most in 9 out of my 12 battles, and I used Froslass and Qwilfish the second most, 7 each, and Froslass was my most common lead in 6 out of my 12 battles. So out of 7 times I used Froslass, I led with it 6 times. And then I used T-Tar 5 times, and Azumarill and Toxicroak I used the least at only 4 times each. And the movesets on my Pokemon are pretty standard. Froslass had Powder Snow, Avalanche, Shadow Ball, Azumarill with Bubble, Ice Beam, Play Rough, Toxicroak with Counter, Mud Bomb, Sludge Bomb, Dustox with Confusion, Sludge Bomb, and Silver Wind. For T-Tar, I decided that it really wasn't worth unlocking Stone Edge as a second move, since Smackdown already does pretty good enough rock type damage on its own. So I thought, like, Crunch was probably good enough in most cases. Rarely would I ever even use Stone Edge, so I didn't want to use the 75,000 Stardust for a Pokemon that is really probably not useful in too many other metas. And then for Quillfish, Water Gun, Aqua Tail, of course, and I decided to use Sludge Wave as the second charge move, just in case it was ever facing an Azumarill in a late game situation. A Sludge Wave could just about one-hit KO Azumarill even from full health. I think it takes about like 80% of Azumarill's health, and then that did happen a few times in practice when I was able to land a Sludge Wave against an Azumarill, which won me a couple battles. So I decided to go with that as the second move of choice. Alright, so in this first round I'm going to play against Pel86, and you see his team there. He has a couple off-meta picks in Roserade, which will definitely do a lot of damage with Razor Leaf, but it's pretty frail, and he has Nidoking, which I actually practiced with myself, but I realized it was just inferior to Toxicroak. So here I lead with Froslass, and he leads with Wigglytuff. And as you can see, these charms are taking a lot of my health, although the Avalanche did hurt a lot as well. Here is I go for a second Avalanche, and he's going to shield to preserve his Wigglytuff. And then here I just let my Froslass faint, and then here I'm not really sure who to come in with, who would be the best pick. I decided to come in with Toxicroak. I'm going to shield here, of course, and just farm a little bit of energy before going down. And he's going to come in with Golbat, which definitely hurts, so I'm going to switch to Dustox to have more or less an even matchup. And then he switches to T-Tar, and then I'm going to hit the Silver Wind. So these Confusions are resisted, so they're not going to do very much damage unless I could hit another Silver Wind, but unfortunately these Smackdowns are just too much for me. And here I was expecting a Crunch, so I didn't shield, but he hits me with the Stone Edge, so really I should have shielded. Actually did a lot of damage despite being resisted, and he comes back in with Golbat, and Golbat resists all of Toxicroak's moves, so that's going to be game 1 to Pel86. I decided not to shield there just because they were really, I would have lost anyway. So I just wanted to get on to our second battle. And so in the second battle, I decided to run the Dustox, Quillfish, and T-Tar line. And I lead with Dustox because I didn't want to lead my T-Tar into his Wigglytuff, or his Roserade potentially. So here we're going up Dustox against Golbat, which is more or less a neutral matchup. I'm not going to shield here. Just going to take that Poison Fang. It's not going to do very much. And I'm going to hit the Silver Wind to try to get a boost. He decides to shield that, which I think was not the best choice of a shield. And then here he's shown both his charge moves are Return and Poison Fang, so I know he doesn't have Shadow Ball, so I let that one go through. I'm down a Pokemon, but I'm up a shield. Coming with T-Tar to farm him down. And of course he has Wigglytuff in the back, so I'm going to switch to Quillfish, which is basically a safe switch in. Now I had a decision to make whether he wanted to keep his Wigglytuff in there or switch to T-Tar, which is countered by Quillfish, and I'm able to hit a second Aqua Tail before he's able to get to his charge move. And he's out of shields now, so this is going to the KO. And he comes back in with Wigglytuff, and I am just able to get an Aqua Tail off before fainting, which is huge because that puts his Wigglytuff at very low health, and I'm able to beat him with just 2 smackdowns. Otherwise, that game and match would have gone to him. But then now we go to a decisive third battle. Here decided to lead with Froslass again, basically using the same team as my first battle, except I swapped out Toxicroak for Azumarill, and he leads with Golbat, which is good for me. So I'm going to hit this first Avalanche, and I believe he's going to Shield. And again, since he has already shown both his charge moves at this point, I know that he doesn't have Shadow Ball, so this Golbat really poses no threat to my Froslass. He's going to switch out. I'm going to store up some energy before I follow switch to Dustox. Here I try to Shield Bait with the Sludge Bomb and then go for the Silver Wind to hopefully get a boost. But he doesn't shield. And here I'm going to shield since I have I'm up a shield anyway. I want to preserve my Dustox since these charms are really not doing much damage anyway. And then now I probably could have and should have farmed up a little bit more energy, but I hit that Silver Wind, which he shields, which I think was a mistake because now I'm able to farm him down with just Confusion, and I have a charge move ready to go. So I'm expecting him to come back with the Golbat, so I'd go immediately for the Sludge Bomb because it'll do more damage. And he's able to take me down with 2 wing attacks, and I come back in with Froslass, which has an Avalanche ready to go. So here I should have charged up a little bit more energy, because now he comes in the Roserade, which I definitely was not expecting. If I'd farmed a little more energy, then I could have finished it off there with the Avalanche, but fortunately my Azumarill is able to hit an Ice Beam here before Rage Leaf takes me out. So yeah, definitely a tricky play by him. Well played. I definitely did not expect him to use Roserade, but I got a charge PM there, so that's a big win as well. And now in round 2, I'm going up against FMZ37. So I see on his team, Alolan Muck and Umbreon are both weak to Toxicroak, and Azumarill is more or less a neutral matchup depending on shields. And then even against Wigglytuff, if shields are down, I could land a Sludge Bomb. So I bring that, and I lead with Froslass, and I have Toxicroak and Azumarill in the back. Here, I'm going to hit this Froslass. We saw this played out in the previous match, but here he decides to shield. And then I'm going to switch out with Energy Charged. I meant to switch to Azumarill, but accidentally switched to Toxicroak, since I was in a rush to get out of there and preserve my Froslass's health. And then here I'm going to hit a Mud Bomb before my Toxicroak faints. And he's going to switch to Azumarill. And I overtap there, so I'm not able to get that Mud Bomb off before fainting. And then I come back in with Froslass to hit this Shadow Ball, which is going to do a pretty good chunk. But then he's able to farm me down before I get to a second charge move. And here I'm going to not shield because Ice Beam or Play Rough wouldn't do too much damage. And also I was expecting an Ice Beam first to come. And then here I'm going to shield to block this Play Rough. And then I probably could have farmed up a little bit of extra energy right there, but I think he's gonna barely survive, so I get, actually no. And then now we had a weird glitch, so I'm not actually sure if he brought in Wigglytuff first, or if it was just a visual bug, but he has Umbreon and I can't even see the health bar, but I know shields are down, so I'm just gonna go for a Play Rough regardless. These foul plays aren't going to do too much, and I think his Umbreon did not have Last Resort, so I'm not too worried about these charge moves. So I'm going to farm up a little bit of extra energy, hit this Ice Beam, which I think won't quite KO, so I can actually farm up a little bit with just Bubble, and then I'm going to hit this Play Rough as soon as the Wigglytuff comes in, and that will be enough to take out his Wigglytuff. So that's game 1. And then, so for the second match, I'm gonna. I don't like running the same 3 Pokemon for every match. So here I decided to go Dustox, T-Tar, and Quillfish. Leading with Dustox because I don't expect him to lead with Umbreon or Alolan Muck. And actually, Alolan Muck wouldn't be too much of an issue, but in case he leads with Wigglytuff again, which he does, I know I have a favorable matchup. So he switches immediately to Umbreon. I follow his switch to T-Tar, just in case he has a Toxicroak in the back, and also because I want to keep my T-Tar away from his Wigglytuff. And then I'm just gonna. Neither of us will shield here. Actually, he does decide to shield there. He might have thought I had a Stone Edge, but I'm not gonna bother shielding. As long as I could take some of Umbreon's health down, it'll be good enough for me. Because then I have Quillfish in the back. I come in and just farm a little bit of extra energy as I take down the Umbreon. Here he hits his charge move. He might have been trying to get it in before I got to Crunch. So it's a tie. So that preserves some of my Quillfish's health. He comes with Venomoth. I'm going to hit this Aqua Tail as soon as it's ready. And then he uses his shield, so I'm going to switch now to Dustox, because I don't want my Quillfish to die too quickly. I have 2 shields here, so even though Silveren's resisted, I'm going to use it because I do want to preserve my Dustox. I want to be able to finish off this match with Dustox if possible. I'm going to shield there. And then I'm going to be able to take down his Venomoth with just Confusion and have a Sludge Bomb ready to go as soon as his Wigglytuff comes back in, which will do a good chunk. But his Wigglytuff was at full health, so it's not enough. And there I was trying to switch out, but the switch clock wasn't up yet. And here I could sense it's going to be pretty close. I lag a little bit, but I am able to hit this Aqua Tail before he reaches his charge move. And that's game 2 and round 2 in the books. So good games to FMZ37, and now we move on to round 3. And in round 3 I'm going up against Corndog91. So you see his team right there. He has 2 Poison Darks, so I decided to use Toxicroak this time since I'm sure I'll see one of them. But if his Drapion has a bite, that would worry me, so I bring in Azumarill as a possible safe switch in. I leave with a Froslass, and he leads with Azumarill, so I'm going to hit this Shadow Ball since I don't expect him to shield the first charge move regardless. And then he's going to hit his charge move. And then here, I decide not to shield, which in hindsight was a mistake. I should have shielded here since Froslass is pretty glassy, and I am able to hit my charge moves faster than Azumarill is able to, so I really should have switched there. He's going to block that one to save his Azumarill. I'm going to switch so he can't just farm me for energy. Again, Azumarill I feel is a pretty safe switch in against his team. And then I'm going to hit this Play Rough here, which is not quite enough to take him out, so he's able to hit one more charge move against me. So I did shield his first Play Rough. In hindsight, I really should have used that shield on Froslass instead. Here I'm going to hit a Play Rough. He's going to shield. That's his last shield. So his Drapion has Infestation, so I know it's not as much of a threat to my Froslass. There I decided not to shield, even if it's a Sludge Bomb. I decided just to take it, because I know I could come in with a Toxicroak and basically just farm it down for energy. I'm going to shield here, but he's able to hit another Aqua Tail, which is okay because it's not going to do too much damage. I figure if he had Golbat in the back, which he does. Wing attack is more of an issue than his charge moves. So he comes in with Golbat. I switched there because I forgot my Froslass was low in health, so that was a mistake by me. Come back with a Toxicroak, hit the Sludge Bomb. I have enough energy to hit another Sludge Bomb back to back, but it's resisted, and it's not quite enough to take out his Golbat, and the counter's just not going to do enough damage. So he's able to hit this Poison Fang, which, despite being resisted, is going to be enough to take out my Toxicroak. So he takes game 1. And then, so for the second game, I decide to run my other 3 Pokemon, the Dustox, Quillfish, T-Tar line again. And I lead with Dustox, and he leads with Alolan, which is not a good matchup for me, so I'm going to switch out. I had a little issue there, but I switched to Quillfish, which is a safe switch in against this team, especially since he has no Confusion user. So he stays in. I'm not going to shield here because even if it's a Dark Pulse, I know I could survive it, and Poison Jab isn't going to do enough damage on its own. So he shields that Aqua Tail there, and he's able to hit a second charge move since I was late on that switch. And I will shield here because I don't want to get KO'd by Dark Pulse. And then I'm going to hit my Aqua Tail. I miss a bubble there, which was okay because I'm able to farm a little bit more energy. I probably should have farmed a bit more before taking out his Muck, but that's okay because I am able to hit another Aqua Tail before his Golbat takes me out. And then here I actually switch because I don't want him to farm me for energy. I know that he has Drapion in the back, which actually no, his Drapion's down. He switches to Azumarill now. I'm gonna hit this Crunch. I think he does shield because he thought it might be a Stone Edge, which is fortunate for me because now I'm up a shield. And then I'm gonna come back in with Dustox, and I'm gonna go for the Sludge Bomb since he is down to shields. So I'm gonna shield this Ice Beam right here. And I'm gonna hit the Sludge Bomb, which will, since both these Pokemon are more defensive, it's not quite enough to take him out. But I will be able to tank this Ice Beam. And it's gonna take him a while to get to another Ice Beam, so he actually decides to switch there. I go for the Silver Wind, which was really unnecessary, but either way, his Azumarill, one more Confusion, and his Azumarill get down. So that's, now we're tied at 1 game apiece, and we move on to a third battle. So for this one, I decided to run the same 3 Pokemon, but I'm going to lead with T-Tar again. T-Tar instead this time, and he leads with Froslass, which is a very favorable matchup for me. And he decides to farm up some energy. Well, actually, I think he doesn't even switch. He decides just to go for the Avalanche. So I'm going to shield this because it would do a lot of damage otherwise, and I'm just going to farm him down with a Smackdown. So I have a Crunch ready to go on his next Pokemon that comes in. I get ready to switch just in case, and it's a Drapion, so I actually meant to switch to Quillfish here. Since these Confusions are resisted, that's not the best switch in, but at the same time, his Drapion has Infestation, Aqua Tail, and Sludge Bomb, so it's not much of an issue. If it was a Bite Drapion, that definitely would have been an issue. And I actually get the boost here, which is very lucky for me. And now it's just going to take his Drapion just won't be able to take my Dustox down fast enough. So he swaps to Golbat, since Wing Attack will do more damage. But here I'm going to burn my last shield because since my Dustox is boosted, I want to preserve it. I'm able to take him down with just Confusion damage. And I have a Silver Wind ready to go when his Drapion comes back in. He's going to burn his last shield, and I'm going to immediately swap to Quillfish to finish off his Drapion. And that's game 3, round 3. Good games to Corn Dog. And now we move on to round 4. Alright, now moving on to round 4. I'm going up against Knouch78. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that name. But I see it as Venomoth and Golbat, which is actually okay because it just means one less Pokemon to worry about since they serve basically the same purpose. And I decided to go with the T-Tar, Quillfish, and Dustox again. We both lead T-Tar. And so with the mirror match, my T-Tar doesn't have great IVs, so I undertapped there just to get my charge move off first. Use it as a shield and just farming down with Smackdown, which is okay. I come in with Quillfish, and I'm able to actually take him down before he hits his charge move. And then he comes in with Tentacle, so I'm going to switch after I get an Aqua Tail fully charged. I switch to Dustox, and here I'm pretty sure he doesn't have enough energy for Hydro Pump, so I don't want to shield an Acid Spray, and he needs an Acid Spray. I think I'd be able to survive a Hydro Pump anyway, so I was okay with taking that risk. And then here I'm going to shield just in case it's a Hydro Pump. I wasn't counting, but I should have known that he didn't have enough energy to get to Hydro Pump. But it's okay because I do want to be able to get some extra damage on this Venomoth before going down. But good for me. Fortunately for me, he's not able to farm me for energy since because of that defense drop. And I have a shield here, so even though this is generally a positive matchup for Venomoth, that shield allows me to survive, and again, these Water Guns and Aqua Tails aren't resisted, so they do quite a lot of damage since Venomoth is a little bit frail. So I take game 1. And then I think for game 2 I decided to go with a different lineup. Since he just did lead with T-Tar, I feel like he might do that again. So I decided to lead with Toxicroak this time since and I have Azumarill as a switch in just in case he leads with Venomoth or Golbat. And I get lucky on this. He does lead with T-Tar, and he is slow on that switch. He has misuse on that switch. And of course, as soon as I see he switches, I expect it to be Venomoth, so I switch immediately to Azumarill. I probably should have come in with Froslass since Froslass has a good matchup against Azumarill, and plus I want to keep it away from T-Tar later on, but this matchup is okay too. He hit me with a Silver One earlier, so I figure he probably doesn't have Poison Fang on this, so I don't shield there. And then I'm able to hit this Ice Beam, which will be enough to take out his Venomoth, since he wants to save his shield. And I comes in with a Azumarill, farms him down before I get enough, before my switch clock expires. I come back in with Toxicroak, just hit that Mud Bomb, burn his last shield, and then I immediately switch to a Froslass. And there he could have followed my switch, but with his T-Tar low in health, I would have been able to take it down with Avalanche. And then there I shield since I have 2 anyway. I didn't want to take a risk on eating a Hydro Pump. And then now since he did use Hydro Pump, I know that it'll take a while for him to get enough energy for another one. So here I shield just to be safe, and I'm just going to farm up some extra energy so that I will have an Avalanche ready to go when T-Tar comes back in. And then so I do hit the Avalanche here, and as T-Tar comes back in, I have an Avalanche ready to go, and that's game 2, round 4. Good games to him. And yeah, up to that point, I think both of us were 3-0. And now we move on to round 5 with my undefeated record on the line. And of course, I'm going up against only Agus, who is an ace-ranked trainer. And so looking at his team, I see that he has 2 flyers again. That means one less thing that I shouldn't need to worry about. And I see that he has a Nidoqueen and a Tentacruel, which are both poison jabbers. So that makes me think that his Skuntank has Bite, which would be threat to my Froslass, but I lead with it anyway, and I have Dustox and Quillfish in the back as potential safe switch-ins. He leads with Toxicroak. He hits this Mud Bomb. Actually, we tied to the charge move. I'm going to let this one go. And then I'm going to hit this Avalanche. He's going to shield. And then I think I'm able to hit a second Avalanche before he gets to... Actually, no, he hits this Mud Bomb first. So I'm going to shield here. Because I do want to get this Avalanche off. Either take out Toxicroak. Actually, I decided to go for this Shadow Ball. Not sure why. Avalanche would have been enough. And so he's able to just farm me down with counters, which is fine. I'm up a shield. And I know my Dustox can tank this Mud Bomb and will be able to take out his Toxicroak pretty easily. So he's going to switch out here to not let me farm energy. I'm going to follow switch to Quillfish. Just going to tank this because Crunch won't do too much damage. And I see here that his Skuntank has Poison Jab. So that means that my Froslass is very strong against his entire team. Probably the best answer to it would be Tentacle, since it resists ice. And then here he comes back in with Toxicroak. I'm going to hit this Aqua Tail before he takes me out. And so it comes down to our last Pokemon, and he has a Nidoqueen in the back. So that's actually a good matchup for me as long as I have a shield. Even if I didn't, so I looked up this match afterwards. In the lead, even without shields, Dustox could just barely win because it actually is able to survive a Stone Edge thanks to its bulk. But here I'm a shield, of course, and I hit the Silver Wind, and I am able to take game 1. So for game 2, now that I know this Skuntank doesn't have Bite, Froslass is very strong against this team, so I'm going to lead with that again. And I really didn't see any reason to change my other 2 Pokemon, so I decided to go with Dustox and Quillfish again. So it's up to him to make an adjustment, and I think Tentacle probably would have been the best lead against Froslass, since it's able to tank a Shadow Ball and use Acid Spray to weaken my defense, but he leads with Skuntank, which is actually a good matchup for me. Avalanche and Crunch both take 45 energy, but Power Snow charges quite a bit faster than Poison Jab. So I'm going to shield there because I do want to keep my Froslass alive. I'm going to hit this second Avalanche. Looks like I overtapped a little bit, so he's able to get his Crunch off at the same time. I'm going to shield. And then here I'm going to charge up some energy and I'm going to switch, which probably wasn't necessary, but I decided to switch to Quillfish. I know I could tank this Crunch. And then after that he's going to follow my switch to Venomoth, but I'm able to get this Aqua Tail off. I'm just going to do some good damage before I go down. And then now I'm going to come back in with Froslass, since I'm going to resist both of its charge moves. And I have this Avalanche ready to go, which will be enough to take out Venomoth. And then again, he comes back in with Skuntank. And lucky for me, he burned that Crunch before switching out, so that wasn't a threat. And then I'm able to take him out there. And he has the Nidoqueen in the back again, so I'm able to hit this Avalanche, which is enough to one-hit KO his Nidoqueen. So that's game 2, round 5, and good games, the only, I guess. Shout out to him for practicing regionals with me. And with that, Season 1 of the Silph Arena comes to a close. I'm glad I was able to end it on a high note, and I can't wait for Season 2, which starts in October. Hopefully the PvP community will grow, and I'm planning to make a series of videos that will hopefully help encourage people to come out for PvP and join their local communities. So those are my plans for the quote-unquote off-season. Hit the subscribe button below if you want to know when those videos come out. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and comment below, as they always say. And thanks for watching, and I hope you guys will join me in the next one.